I was always that intense fan where it was, I was changed by bands in like, it kind of always shaped me, and that was what brought me a bunch of joy in my life. We try to give back to the fans as much as, as possible, because we love seeing, those familiar faces and seeing that the smiles on the faces. And if it can bring a positive change to people, just having like you guys there and like the flockers there, it's just like insane how much of an energy and like how much it elevates just the experience for us as well.
Well, here we are on the Weird Music Podcast. We got Gator from Pigeons. Let's go. Dome Fest is coming up at Legend Valley right here in Columbus's backyard. That's going to be fucking awesome.
So stoked. Thanks, man.
Today announced Undercover Set coming through to Legend Valley. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, that is May 21st, May 22nd.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's been quite a while since I've been at a Pigeon show. I was just taking a shower, listening to Melting Lights. Fucking memories, man.
I know. I miss seeing that big bright smile of yours at shows.
Oh,
immediately find you in the crowd.
Man, so we're gonna jump all over the place in this interview. Got a bunch of different topics. So yeah. I'm very familiar with Pigeon's catalog. First thing I thought would be cool to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite songs to play?
Yeah, man. Obviously, as cheesy as it is, all the songs I love playing, but there's definitely some, depending on, where they are or the situation, that could, typically present more of a fun moment if I had to kind of break it down. Like, as far as a good high energy, like kind of set closer, like Ocean Flows is always really fun because it kind of has that final stretch where I just think, energy wise and getting to that kind of ripping, kind of peaking point. That's for us a solid kind of representation there. I love Skipjack. That's kind of a random one to play, but that one's just fun because it's, kind of the almost intention and theme behind that song is that it kind of does jump in a lot of different directions, and it's supposed to kind of be this like, weird tale of just like this journey that kind of, so there's different tempo changes, feel changes, and that makes it fun. And, I think, we have a lot of fun songs that I think we're cohesive together, but within them, I think we have like a couple different, feel changes, whether it's kind of more that islandy vibe in songs like, Fox and Toad or Fortress. And I love playing that as well. So it's, there really are a bunch of different songs. It's a kind of an evolving answer because, it kind of change, sometimes we'll be really kind of getting into a certain song where the jams have been, to us, we felt good about them. And it kind of, you get enthusiastic about certain songs every now and then. So it's kind of always changing, new songs are always fun too, just because they're more fresh. Like I love playing in the bubble and, songs like Twitch and everything. So it kind of depends on the situation, but there's a few there.
Yeah, Move Like That is fire.
Oh yeah. See, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That one's very fun to play. It's more of kind of that, like kind of 4 on the floor, groovy, kind of Daft Punky vibe, in our minds. So that one's fun to play for sure.
So just mentioned Undercover Set announced at Dome Fest.
Yeah.
What are some of like Pigeon's covers that are just like your favorite?
That's a great question because we were, Jeremy, we keep a catalog of all of our songs, obviously, as well as, covers we've played in the past. And just a couple of weeks ago, we were just chilling, going over a set for Philly or something, and he was like, guess how many covers we've played or, have on this list. And we were kind of just as a joke going around, like, I don't know, like 50, 100. I think they were like over like 300 or something. So, and they kind of just add up whether we've played them once or, 10 times. So the Undercover Set will be fun because, the Undercover Set is something that we presented before, but we're going to try to kind of spice it up with some fun new covers, as well as maybe busting out some classic covers that we've done, in the past that we may have not busted out in a while. So as far as some of my favorite covers to play, oh man, I think our vibe when we play, the Chili Pepper stuff is really fun. Just the setup of our band, I think we have fun with the Chili Pepper stuff, and it kind of resonates there. But I mean, it's the same thing, and then we'll do a certain theme, or we'll bring up, kind of dive into a new set of covers, and then you get really excited about playing those. So it's interesting. I don't know if I have as much favorites as, we'll just try to kind of go through every now and then and pick one from the list that and be like, oh damn, yeah, we haven't. I forgot we played that song. So I'm very stoked about the Undercover set. We're gonna try to pull out some funny, cool stuff. So that'll be fun.
So you mentioned all these songs in your catalog. Like, so has Pigeons been around maybe like 11, 12, 13 years? I know
Yeah,
you
you're
joined the
right.
band after a couple years.
Yeah, started 2015 is when I joined. So I mean, already almost 6.5 years. Crazy.
You can tell watching you guys play, you're like locked in together. You're, obviously being a touring band, like shit goes wrong endlessly. Like starting sleeping in a van together, all this shit. Like, what do you think has led to Pigeons having such great chemistry and you guys being so just like cohesive as a unit?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I think it's, obviously our relationship musically, but also, as of most bands are, typically, friends and pretty close outside of music. And, I think that's a huge part for us is, I myself wasn't an original member, but, especially when they first started, they were all really good friends and just like core friends. And, it wasn't, just about the music as much as like, they're already hanging out anyway because they're already great friends at college, young freshmen in college. Jeremy and Greg were, they were some of the first people they met, just walking down the hall. Greg walks down with an acoustic guitar, Jeremy walks with an acoustic guitar, and they meet, classic at the freshman dorm. So it all, happened very organically. And I think it just kind of created a good bond where, like you said, you go through crazy, even when I joined, and it's still something I'll look back on a lot and, kind of joke with people is even when I joined, we were still in that phase of, all in the van, driving ourselves, setting up ourselves. And, after the show, you find, you know, nice people in the crowd that, you could go crash on their floor or on their couch or something. Then you wake up and you go to the next town and you do it again. And, it's a crazy grind. It's a crazy lifestyle, but I could always, see that it was a good bond, especially when I came in, it didn't like feel weird or like this outsider situation, it like really seamlessly, and it's not like I really, I had met Jeremy once or twice before that, but it's not like I even really knew them. So it really happened like pretty seamlessly as far as, yeah, musically, but more so just the vibe of, both working and living with people that you didn't even really know. All of a sudden, you're with them, 24/7, and it was. I mean, it's great. It created an even stronger bond, and those like crazy years of just staying with strangers, and half the time. The people would be like, yeah, we got all these spare beds. And then you show up and it's like a love chair and a wooden floor. And it's like, on one hand, it's like, ah, crap. But on the other hand, those are like the memorable nights and that's the grind you go through. And it was always a fun grind. It was never like, oh, like this is the worst. It was always like, just kind of like, oh, this is going to be interesting, and it creates memories and, us being able to stay positive through those fun, crazy grind years is, just allowed, as we've grown and been fortunate enough to add a crew, and stay, have a bus for certain tours and be able to stay, get our own hotel rooms. And, we rode that progression and now it kind of makes it even easier. And, it's, so yeah, just kind of the general relationship we've had has always been good.
One thing I love about the jam scene, and this is probably true for you, like as a music listener throughout, your upbringing, like bands mean so much to fans. Like I can say for the Flock, I know a lot of Pigeons fans and phases of their life, like they love Pigeons. It means a lot. Like literally, I'm thinking of music from a perspective of it's therapeutic for people.
Hmm.
And it's also something that's been embedded into culture since like before technology, like before language, like
Right.
ritualistic, like tribal drum circles. And yeah, it's such an important part of my life, of so many people's lives. Do you feel like a deep meaning about being a musician? Like looking into your mind, like what does that really mean to you to get to be in Pigeons? Like touring musician, fans just loving it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. Like you said, we have the fans are so great, and we're we try to be as knowledgeable and grateful as possible with all that because we really don't take it lightly. We see fans like yourself and others who have been with us for years, and you could kind of see that positivity kind of go back and forth. It's wild. It's a hard answer to put into words. It definitely is a dream come true. We all, like I said, worked super hard and grinded and kind of really pushed ourselves for years to kind of get to a point. And we've been obviously on both sides. Yeah, we're in the band and kind of on that side of the industry. I was as well like the diehard music fan, as are most musicians. I was always that intense fan where it was, I was changed by bands in like it kind of always shaped me, and that was what brought me a bunch of joy in my life. Everyone has their own, journey and perspective and how it affects them, but we're all such huge music fans as well that like we share a lot of those feelings, and to kind of be on both sides of it's really cool, and it's really it's a dream come true. It's a strange grind, but it's awesome because it's different. It's an interesting life, and the fact that we're able to make it work doing something that is kind of a truly creative thing that we love, and that also, like you said, is able to also bring joy to other people. It's wild, and it's really sweet. And like I said, we really we try to give back to the fans as much as possible, because we love seeing those familiar faces and seeing that the smiles on the faces, and if it can bring a positive change to people, we try to be really aware of that, and because it's so awesome to us, and it's been a crazy ride. And like I said, to bring other people on that ride with us, and, it only makes it worth it for us too. Like, even in this crazy time we're in, playing when we were kind of getting back into shows and it was more streamed events and stuff, it was amazing to get back on the stage and play, with the boys. But, as we, even as you start to add like, the crowds, and like the Ardmore was kind of a first sense of kind of a reintroduction to kind of that environment. Just having like you guys there and like the Flockers there, it's just like insane how much of an energy and like how much it elevates just the experience for us as well. So I feel like it's a really kind of back and forth, relationship, and it's super grateful for it. Yeah.
That's an awesome answer. I'm curious, who are some of those bands you've been a diehard for?
So, growing up, I was always I listened to everything, but I was always kind of like more of like a progressive rock kind of guy. So when I was kind of getting into the jam scene, Humphreys McGee was kind of the like perfect band for me, because they presented like all these different styles and this fusion styles, but then still kind of introduced me to that jam scene. And they had like I loved how they would just bounce back and forth from like a funk jam to a metal jam. And I got like super into Humphreys, and I come from a little small town in New Hampshire, and no one knows who like Humphreys McGee is or any of these bands or something. So I'm like, I'm at school like spreading the word, as is a lot of people, about like jam bands, because it's all, the fans are such an integral part of the growth of those bands. So it's I'm bringing all these people to these shows. Who's Humphreys McGee? Alex brought me to see this band. It's like, and there are others and stuff in the jams like Lettuce and stuff. I idolized Adam Deitch's playing, through high school and everything. And now we've been fortunate enough to be able to work with those bands, and it's
what's that like?
It's super funny, man, because I'm like the giddy fan. Like first time we played with Humphreys, it's like I'm like, like in the, like a mirror, like before a date, like, hey, I'm Alex. I know in my mind, like, I'm never really gonna in this meeting describe to them how much, like, I'm not gonna go and be like, hey guys, I know all of your songs, like, I love you. So it was such a, I felt it probably looked like I was getting ready, like a teenager going to meet Justin Bieber. So it was so funny. So like, I even have like an Humphreys quote on one of my drum cases, and I'm like wheeling it in, like kind of covering it. I'm like, oh, these guys, like, they're gonna think I'm like this huge, like,
Nice
fanboy geek. So
classic.
it's very cool to be able to meet people that you look up to like that.
I'm curious to ask you, as someone so deeply entrenched in like improvisational music, what to you separates some of your jams that are good from some of your jams that are great?
That's a good question. Because we do, we'll, after shows, we'll take a little time to kind of revisit things through the set. And, if there is this jam that popped out to us, we'll kind of be like, hey, that jam and Lightning felt really good. I think a lot of it is just, random timing. And I think sometimes things just click, because especially with improv, one thing I've mentioned with like our style of improv, which is kind of managing risks with like kind of you're playing live. And if I'm going to try to match Jeremy on a cool lick with my right hand pattern, I don't always know if he's going to go for like that triplet pattern or like a certain step, like guitar pattern. So we'll kind of guess, or if we're kind of trying to make up some hits on the go, it takes a little bit of like signaling and guessing. And sometimes, things won't land immediately, or it's so minimal that like we'll kind of hear what we're trying to do, but like it might not be as heard to other people. So there's kind of just different levels of taking risks to try to make the jams to go in different places, but also, not taking too much risk, because you are playing, this live show. So you don't want to hit a train wreck. So it's, I think it's a lot of timing, where if we happen to try to take these risks, or if I happen to try to match something with Ben or Greg, or do this crazy swell out of nowhere, sometimes it all just happens really well together. And, I think it's just some lucky timing. And, sometimes you'll have a great jam that's not the tightest jam. It's just, like the energy level kind of got there, and those are great too. So they can kind of be gauged on different points. But I think since we do kind of try to take these little risks, sometimes you get lucky and they all work out in a jam. And so I think a lot of it is just that.
So coming out of, this year-long break from live music, yeah, you'll be on a tour bus, but you're still going to have some long tours coming up in the next, 24, 36 months.
Yeah.
You all have been road warriors. I'd love to hear from you, and maybe, you could phrase this kind of like as advice for kind of newer bands. Like, how do you stay like charged up and, fully like on the nose on long tours?
It's a great question. And it's, it obviously is different for kind of where you're at, when you're a young and upcoming band and you're just driving by yourself in your van, and, there's no real crew, and you're doing all the load-ins and everything on your own. It's tough. It's, cause you're managing, especially with our schedule, especially early on, we play really late shows. And then if you're loading out by yourself, while also, selling merch by ourselves, meeting fans or friends at the shows, you'd play the show from 10 to 1:30, you'd load out, do merch. Like, we wouldn't get packed up till 3:30, 4. You drive to your hotel, by the time you get to sleep, around 5 a.m., then you wake up in that city, and you still typically on average have, 4 or 5 hour drive to the next city to make a early afternoon load in. So you really are on just like this endless loop, especially if you're kind of doing it all on your own. And that can be a lot tougher. It's just trying to soak in everything as slowly as possible amidst like the fast, hectic nature of it. 'Cause, and the hope is that, it grows to the point where, we've done some tours in a tour bus now, and, where that changes is, now after like a load in or a load out after a show, we could always go to sleep in our bunk, and then overnight is when the driver drives. So when you wake up, you're already in the next city. So rather than having that 5-6 hour period where you're typically driving last minute to the next city and hoping that you could find a quick, Starbucks coffee stop for, before load in, it becomes now, you can explore more before shows. Like it's crazy with touring early on because the travel is amazing. You're going all over the place, but there are a lot of tours where you don't really feel like you're seeing much of the place. It's like, oh yeah, I was in Raleigh, but like I guess I didn't know if I left the venue. So it was like, I didn't really did I really travel there? Like, and as we've grown, as you stick with it, and hopefully it does grow, it kind of opens up more opportunities to, like, now we can wake up and walk through the city. We can go get coffee. We can go get breakfast. We can kind of experience. It's almost like a reward for all those. It's definitely a reward for all those grinding years. But I guess if you're an early on touring guy where you're at it with just a little skeleton crew and you're doing everything on your own, as tough as it is, just try to enjoy little random things. Like if you're driving by a cool lookout spot on the highway, pull over with your friends and like chill outside for 5. It's like find little ways to breathe amidst like the craziness, because the craziness is great. It's part of the experience, but you got to kind of manage it for sure.
It's like, I can't even put myself to imagine like having to do that schedule you mentioned at the beginning for an up and coming band. Like, holy shit. And that's something that fans, like, not all of them know that. They don't really all understand that. God damn. So this next question I want to ask you, I think mostly everyone can relate. It's the dream to get to have a career out of your passions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I've got this one friend, Rob. Rob, when I met him, he was at school at Ohio State studying plants, studying like plant sciences, and loves cannabis. And now he's just like the head grower at the super legit facility. And he is living his dream, doing his passion. And, you're very similar like that. You're killing the drums.
Thanks.
And so my question is, like, stepping in a time machine, why do you think it was drumming that you gravitated towards? Like, what about drumming, when you sit there and think like, I love this, what about it really do you love so much?
It's a great question, man. Because, growing up, I was fortunate enough to have supportive parents who, pushed my siblings and I to try new things. When we were all like 5 years old, we would try, or young in that age, we would try, an instrument or a sport, or a lesson of something. And, my brother tried different instruments here and there, piano and everything. And I tried drums when I was 5, and it kind of had just that very natural, when I sat back there, it felt right, even when I was a little kid and it was a Mickey Mouse little drum set. But as far as, just the growth with drums, and it was always strange for me because I grew up, I'm a very kind of structured or like planned kind of analytical mind, where I was, music is a very like question mark industry. It's like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, it's a very tough industry to break into. You could be the most talented in your field ever, but like, it's hard to break through. It's a lot of grinding. And if it doesn't work, where you left. And so I was always kind of had those like underlying, almost not worries, but just like, I like to be able to kind of envision where things are definitely going to go. And with that industry, it's just so hard. You don't know. Like, you could be even in a band that's killing it, and if something could happen, and I was always scared of being left with like, all right, well, what am I going to do now? So I always had other interests on the side. And, when I went to college, I went to school, I was unsure if I wanted to go full on with music. So I did music, and I also went to school for architecture, and I got a degree in architecture because I was, I wanted like a great, something I was also interested in, but like almost like a great backup plan where if the music didn't work out, I was very scared to be like, what else are you left with? So I always teetered on, was I going to really dive in and invest myself 100% with music? I knew that I was what I wanted to do. I was just always kind of had more of a hesitancy towards the life, and like, if it doesn't work out, like, what am I going to do now? Which is just kind of my own process. And, but I always kind of kept going. I would work during the week, and then as for an architectural engineering company. And then on the weekends I'd drive to New York City and play gigs with my brother. And so I was kind of trying to balance them out. And when it finally all came together with Pigeons, it kind of was like a bit of a validation. Even when that was presented, I was still really scared. And like, I just got settled with this great job out of school. Like, this is kind of like this structured life I was, talking about. And now this being presented, like, I'm kind of scared of like, what are people going to think, blah, blah, blah. And like, even my parents, who didn't come from, didn't know much about that lifestyle at all, were like, yeah, you got to do this. Like, this is what we know this is what you were, do what you want, but this is what you're here for. Like, we knew since we put you behind that drum set at age 5, you looked like you belonged there. So I was, and it's something, it's crazy to even talk about still every time I, talk about that transition, because it was just something I was kind of scared to go in on, but I knew in my heart, I like, that was where I wanted to be. So, through timing, through a lot of just years of playing shows and kind of grinding, and it kind of happened, and the support was there. And once I called, the family of this scared, like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? I'm like going to possibly leave this crazy cool job that I just got to go, join Pigeons, play a band called Pigeons Playing Ping Pong in Maryland. They didn't even know. And it couldn't have gone any better. The support was there. And, in like your friend, like, congrats to him and anyone who's, you as well. You always seem to be, crushing it with this, and, trying music and trying new things, and always trying to kind of expand and have fun with it, and just kind of try new things, go with the flow and enjoy it. And it led me here, and I'm, so fortunate and thankful for it.
Dude, so cool to hear your answers. Thank you for that. And to have that parent support like that is epic. Yeah, honestly. Yeah. Honestly, so shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Fitropolis. Thanks, man. Yeah. Dude, well, this has been fantastic. Thanks again for coming on, Gator.
For sure, man. It's good to see you. It's been too long, and yeah.
Legend Valley, May 21st and 22nd coming up. Dome Fest, Undercover Set, a lot of awesome other bands, Munyon, Conscious Pilot, Broccoli Samurai. Yep. Dude, anything you want to leave the flock off with before we sign off here?
Man, just wanted to say thanks for having me. The Flockers, hang in there. We're coming back. We got some new music for you, and we've been thinking about you, and can't wait to get back out and play some more live shows. So, Cam, great to see you. I appreciate you having me, man.